in the squadron. They called him Bullets, but we call him Greg Kelly. Greg Kelly is on the air
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
If only people would do their jobs. Wow, really something to watch that character shooting off his mouth about international law, philosophy, Maduro, Netanyahu. City is falling apart. The city is falling apart. And the boy mayor has something to say about international law and genocide and false allegations of war crimes. Gosh, what Netanyahu and all of Israel have gone through just for defending themselves from genocide. Israel, in many ways, was kind of founded as a refuge from genocide. They were the victims of genocide. Genocide has been waged against them for millennia. What's the plural of 1,000 years? I think it's millennia. And to see this fake aggrieved, I don't know if you saw what I did, but I think this guy picked up a lot of the nasty traits of his home country, Uganda. All right, Uganda is not a nice place, okay? Talk about genocide city. Uganda. Idi Amin, remember him, the cannibal? Fascinating movie about him. Actually, better than the movies or the documentaries. Idi Amin, the raid on Entebbe. He was a bit of a cannibal, they said. You know, some of it was hype. Some of it was actually hype from him. But, bad dude. It's illegal to be gay in Uganda. Yet, what's his name? Mamdani is quite proud of that. I'm going back to Uganda. I'm visiting family and friends for a celebration with Rama. With Rama. You know what? I wonder what I would do if I found out that my wife was liking terrorist attacks on social media. She wouldn't be my wife. I mean, that's just impossible. But let's pretend it wasn't impossible. What would I do? How would I feel? This guy feels the same way. October 7th was a good thing. And the idea that he gave the terrorists the address to attack. With that fake story, he gave motivation. Just do me a favor. Focus on the snow when it's here. Get ready for the snowstorm. You screwed up the last one. The snow, the sewers, the roads, the potholes. When did mayors become these, authorities on everything? Fake news, offers them questions, no follow-up, no, how do you feel about Netanyahu? Well, I think he's a war criminal. How do you feel about the trash heap on 120th Street? What the freaking hell? You know what I mean? This is the mayor. This is Koch. This is Beam. Beam. Was he weighing in on all these kinds of things all over the place? Here is Mamdani giving people the address that he wants the terrorists to hit. I think this is very creepy. When you look at what the hell happened over there, why in the world would he talk about anything else other than the basic prosaic things that you got to do to be the mayor? Because it's no fun. It's no fun. It's hard work. You're not guaranteed success. If you dabble in everything and you virtue signal to your friends, that's fun. You get a big boost. A big boost on social media. Nothing like seeing your comments go viral. Well, maybe this should go viral. Cut 2, please. Cut 2.
ICE operates here in New York, in our courthouses, our workplaces. They skulk at 26 Federal Plaza, the same building where I waited in fear as my father had his citizenship interview. We are standing in front of Federal Plaza, the very site where New Yorkers are being stolen, whether from their families, their friends, or from the city that they call home. The city where I have gone on hunger strike just outside these gates. Sat claustrophobic on a stalled N train just after Atlantic Avenue and waited in quiet terror for my father to emerge from 26 Federal Plaza. And it's at 26 Federal Plaza that I've seen what used to be moments when New Yorkers would be getting their citizenship turn into moments of tragedy.
Really, like it's a black ops, dark site. They're waterboarding people inside 26 Federal Plaza. Well, if you listen to him, I can understand what people would think. And not even just like, lunatics. This is the justification. This is kind of like the rhetoric about the election in 2020. right? You know, if you raise questions about its legitimacy, somehow you were a threat to democracy. If you peacefully and patriotically protested on January 6th, you were an insurrectionist, right? This is real. It's worse, and it's getting worse. I don't know. Things are heating up in Iran. Things are really heating up in Iran, and when things heat up in Iran, they could heat up back at home. Now, a couple of things. I have no problem whatsoever with the campaign. I actually think it's necessary, warranted. Boots on the ground. People are afraid of boots on the ground. I had to look it up. Boots on the ground. President Trump, the midterms will be over. His presidency, they will impeach him if there are boots on the ground. Boots on the ground. I don't know when they came up with this phrase, boots on the ground, but it basically means, ground troops. Putting ground troops. We have boots on the ground everywhere Americans go, right? We have boots on the ground. Boots on the ground. But it's if they're in a certain country, that's called boots on the ground. Well, I looked it up. Every president, let's see here. FDR ordered boots on the ground, ordered American troops onto foreign land. So did Truman, American troops onto foreign land. So did Eisenhower, American troops onto foreign land. Let me double check Eisenhower. Was the Korean War over by the time Eisenhower showed up? It may have been. Kennedy ordered troops onto foreign land. Johnson ordered troops onto foreign land. Nixon ordered troops onto foreign land. Gerald Ford ordered troops onto foreign land. Jimmy Carter, troops onto foreign land. Ronald Reagan, troops onto foreign land. George H.W. Bush, a couple of 100,000 troops onto foreign land. Bill Clinton, Bosnia, remember that? Troops onto foreign land. George W. Bush, troops onto foreign land. Obama, troops onto foreign land. Biden, troops onto foreign land. Not Trump. Not Trump. Of all the presidents, he is the one president who has not ordered boots on the ground. Isn't that interesting? 4 years during his first term. Now we are 2 years into the second term. And if it happens, oh my God, it'll be cataclysmic. No, actually, it won't. We have a military. We are a superpower. We can fight 2 wars at the same time. We can fight 2. And this is not a full-on war. This is not total war. This is not that intense. Now, it's an air war primarily, right? It is an air war. Will there be boots on the ground? I don't know. If it happens, I think we can manage it. Right now, it's a blockade. And the Strait of Hormuz, however, we could be very close to a deal. I listen carefully to what people are talking about. People are not talking about this war. I know what it's like when people are talking about a war and not talking about a war, and they ain't talking about this. The only time everybody was really talking about a war in my lifetime was the invasion of Iraq in March and April of 2003. That was hot. Everybody was talking about that, watching the TV 24/7. Everybody was talking about our troops in the ground when we got bin Laden. And for about 20 minutes, everybody was talking about when we got out of Afghanistan in such a disgrace. Other than that, people are content to go about their business, get coffee at Starbucks, go to Costco, watch TV. It's just not that big a deal. And, to put this in perspective, we have less than 20 troops dead. And I hate that. But it is a manageable number. It's a manageable number. All right. So now, Tom Cotton, one of the smartest guys in the United States Senate, and I think it was pretty. He's not everybody likes him. I keep hearing, well, he's a neocon. I don't see that. I don't see any sign of that. He's off the charts brilliant. He has military experience. I mean, real military experience. He's not one of these guys who got his ticket punched. He's no Hegseth, right? And I know Hegseth had a few nice moments yesterday, but he had to go ballistic when he couldn't handle the substance of the questions. And Hegseth, I told you guys that he was digging himself a big hole when he was talking trash about Iran in the early stages of the war. I told you his big mouth was going to get himself into trouble. I don't think President Trump was impressed. I saw those things, But when you resort to accusing a senator of Trump derangement syndrome, now some of them actually warranted serious, some of these guys are actually serious people. Senator Reid is a serious person, a Vietnam veteran himself. You can't write him off as a Trump derangement syndrome individual. But I want to fast forward. So they had a big argument about the budget. I don't think Pete was good on the substance. He said way too much early on. He was way too confident. And he taunted the enemy. You don't taunt the enemy. It may seem kind of cool if you're watching TV, at a bar with your friends, or, ooh, look at that little segment on TV. He really owned that person. He owned that person. Yeah, that was a nice clip. That was a nice 30-second clip. But it was a 3-hour hearing. That's a big meeting. You want to play for the cameras? Okay. You want to play for social media? Okay, but let's really talk about this stuff. And I thought he was inadequate, as he usually is. Yeah, just look at that guy. He thinks he's Julius Caesar. He's got a problem. Tom Cotton, on the other hand, I totally trust him. I trust him implicitly, explicitly. The guy is on it. Republican of Arkansas, United States Senator, possibly a future president of the United States. Tom Cotton on the Fox and Friends with our friend Brian Kilmeade. Hit it, please.
Yeah, Brian, as the president has said, these people were never serious about negotiating. They're revolutionary fanatics. Secretary Hegseth said the same thing yesterday. That's been proven clear. We're right to be retaliating for Iran's strikes against shipping in the Strait of Hormuz, but because these fanatics are not serious about negotiations, I think the time has come to finish our military operations, to hit them much harder, as the president said, not just along the southern coast next to the strait, but to take out as much more of their missile and their drone programs and the manufacturing that backs those up as possible. What Secretary Rubio said is right. This has always been about preventing them from getting a nuclear weapon. We've set back that nuclear program by years, but we can't allow them to continue to have this shield of thousands of drones and missiles, which might protect a future nuclear program after the Trump administration. So the president is right. These fanatics are not serious about negotiating. It's time to finish our military operations, keep the strait open, and to keep the blockade in place.
So you say there's a military way that we can use the Oman side of the strait, and we should, even though there'll always be a little bit of a threat, we have to hit it harder to open that up and get the oil and gas through.
Yeah, that's right, Brian. The Strait of Hormuz was not our objective when this started. Our objective has always been their nuclear weapons program, as well as the conventional missiles and drones they used to shield that program. But the revolutionary fanatics in Tehran wanted to close the strait. Well, we can make it our objective, and we can keep it open through the southern end. Of course, Iran, because of geography, will be able to harass shipping to some degree. But in May and June, even before the Memorandum of Understanding, we were helping to get millions of barrels of oil out every single day, as the president has acknowledged. We can do that in concert with our Arab friends in the Persian Gulf region. We can make sure that we keep the price of gas and diesel down for Arkansans and all Americans, while also severely degrading what's left of Iran's military. I think that's the course of action right now that we need to take.
And you want to pick up the intensity, not level it off. You mean intensify. Is that correct? The number of strikes?
I think that's where we are. I think that's where we are right now. These fanatics have made clear they don't want to negotiate. The talks are a farce that are just designed to string us along. We need to finish our military operational plans, which will deal an even more severe blow to their conventional missile and drone forces.
All right. You see, he's got the experience, and he's serious. Just because he said what he said there, I don't think not everybody is crazy. People, I know this for a fact. People on our side are not crazy about the wild kind of presence of Hegseth during these things. He reverts to cable news at night, and we're looking for more. We need more from that out of the Secretary of Defense in a time of war. Now, there's something else here. Why we may need boots on the ground. It's considered a truism in the military for a long time now that you can't get what you want from bombing alone. You got to put troops on the ground at some point. Now, I think there are a lot of caveats to that. They like to say a lot of caveats. There are exceptions. Air power has gotten a lot more precise and a lot more lethal. But General Kane said basically you can only bomb so much your way out of a problem, and then you got to put some of those boots on the ground, and we may be getting there very soon. We'll be right back.
Greg Kelly.
Let's go, Brandon.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Greg Kelly
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Well, here we are. I can't tell you how much I respect this Senator Kennedy, John Kennedy from Louisiana. He's folksy, but he's smart as hell. And he's not going to get spun by anyone, whether it's the left, whether it's the right, and sometimes our guys do it. So he's sitting there, and he's watching Kane and Hegseth. Now, the whole thing about military might has to be augmented by ground troops. You can't just do it with air power. My dad knew this from Vietnam. You just you bomb, and guess what happens after you bomb? The enemy comes out of their holes, and they keep fighting. They keep fighting. Now, I have a hard time believing that with our the bunker busters and the munition precision and all that stuff, that maybe that mantra is obsolete, but who knows? Anyway, here's John Kennedy, Republican of Louisiana. This is important. And, I love it when we make these things breathe, when we find these clips and you let them breathe. All the time on social, most of it is like 20 seconds. Ooh, wow, somebody insulted somebody. Now, this is substantive, and it really gives you an idea, a picture. All right? Now, we got guys over there, and they're dying, and I know it isn't that many, and we want to keep it low, but this is serious business. There's going to be a dignified transfer, they call it, at Dover Air Force sometime today, Dover Air Force Base. We know that Hegseth and the president will treat this with utmost respect. Unlike Biden, remember he checked his watch, he was yawning. Guy was yawning, had better places to be, and then told all the families, you don't know what it's like to grieve. I lost my son, Bo. Disgusting. All right, let me hear a true statesman, Senator Kennedy, with the top defense or war officials in America. Go ahead.
Will they put tolls on the strait?
I don't know, sir. That's a decision that's a hypothetical and will depend on what happens
It's not
in the
hypothetical.
future.
We got a blockade to stop them.
We do, sir. That's putting economic
I want you to look
pressure
me in the
on
eye.
them.
I'm not asking you I'm not trying to get you in trouble. I know your advice to the president is private. But this is serious as 4 heart attacks and a stroke. Now, what happens if we come home and end the blockade to the world?
Sir, Iran has the potential to continue to be a threat, and we will need to prepare military
Will they
options to
toll
do
the
that.
strait?
Sir, that's a hypothetical question, and I don't know the answer to that.
Oh, it's not hypothetical. We come home. It's not going to be hypothetical. You know that, General, and I do too. And I appreciate your discretion, but we're down to it. We need some hard answers and some straight talk. What'll happen, Pete?
Senator, I would agree with the chairman, but the likely outcome is they would try to impose their will on the waterways in ways that the world would not like. Call it a toll, call it a fee, call it an exchange, call it control. They would do something that they would try to hold it at issue. Yes, sir.
Would they try to commence development again of a nuclear warhead?
Part of the reason President Trump had to have the courage to do what he did after Midnight Hammer is that they didn't give up their ambitions, even though their nuclear sites had been obliterated. So this is a regime hell-bent on nuclear ambitions, and
Guys,
President Trump is
need
willing to
straight
go after it.
answers. We need straight answers. Do we have the ability to destroy whatever is underneath Pickaxe Mountain?
Senator, a lot of our capabilities are classified, but if anybody in the world can reach anything on God's green earth, it's the United States military, the most powerful military in the world. It's all about options and trade-offs.
All right. I'm going to take a little extra time because others got it, Madam Chair. I won't abuse it. Secretary.
Huh. I can understand that thing about Pickaxe Mountain. It's tricky when you're a democracy. You got everybody in the world watching. You got our enemies watching. And you're talking about capabilities and can we get it? And it's, the worst system in the world except for all the others. You got the enemies glued. And they have these closed door sessions and the rest. That is interesting. It's fascinating. It's not easy. This is not easy, folks. And it's going to be tough tonight when they all come home. 3, did you hear about the soldier who was from New York, beautiful woman from Queens? And I love those pictures of her, her in uniform. So much hope, so much excitement. Joining the military is an adventure, and I saw it all in her. And she's coming home. It's tough. Really, really, really tough. However, folks, this is not a forever war. Stop wetting your pants. Stop wetting your pants, Brit Hume. Cut 7.
He promised to keep us out of endless wars or unsatisfactory wars, and now he's in one, and it's not at all clear how it's going to
end. Forever war. Yeah, Brit Hume. Very smart man. My understanding is he never did get over there to Iraq or Afghanistan as a journalist. It's kind of easy to do. Not that it would have made him an expert, but it was something to do. He certainly defended the hell out of that war, the Iraq War. He thought it was fine and dandy from his comfortable vantage point in rural Virginia. He saw no problem with anything. Well, there goes Greg Kelly again telling us bad news stories from Iraq. One of these days, you're going to wake up the wrong passenger, pal. Let's see here. Cut 8. A little bit of, kind of got really intense there and loud. Cut 8.
I would take issue with your characterization that we started this war. Iran started this war 47 years ago, and they've killed thousands of Americans, including our brothers on the battlefield in Iraq. Iran has been targeting us for a long time.
Which is true. Was it obliterated or wasn't it? What's the status?
The nuclear sites under Midnight Hammer were obliterated, but Iranians foolishly continued to attempt to pursue nuclear capabilities, which is why we destroyed their defense industrial base and so many of the other capabilities to ensure they can't get to a nuclear weapon. So we're staying laser focused on the objective, and you're trying to make campaign commercials.
No, we're not.
And that's fine.
We have political leadership. You don't have a strategy. You don't have a long-term plan to actually win this war. Win the war. The men and women are going to be able to do it, but they need to have leadership. When will you show leadership? When will you show leadership?
Why don't you show some leadership and stand up to your fellow Democrats who won't fund the troops, who stand and play partisan politics while you don't give us the money? You want to stand up here and talk about the troops? You won't show any political courage to actually fund our department because you have Trump derangement syndrome and can't actually commit to anything meaningful. So I put this on you, Senator.
All right. Advantage Pete, but I'm kind of looking for more at this point. To resort to that kind of stuff is, there are serious questions. I think that they deserve answers. Now, I think the answers are pretty straightforward. Look, we have already eliminated the nuclear. We can say that. We can maintain that. As far as this Pickaxe Mountain goes, my understanding is we may not be able to get to the bottom of it, but we have it under surveillance. We have the damn thing under total and complete surveillance, and if they try to move in on it and take the enriched uranium or nuclear dust or whatever you want to call it, all we's got to do is keep an eye on it, and the moment they move on it, boom, we can start hitting them. We can hit them from space. We can hit them from the sea. We can hit them from Missouri. We can take those beautiful B-2 bombers off from Missouri, fly all the way across the world, drop those bombs, and those guys will be back in time home for whatever. It's a 24 or 36-hour mission. They must be basket cases by the time they get off the plane. I think that's the longest mission. Well, it's not the longest time an airplane has ever been aloft. The longest time an airplane has ever been aloft? An airplane in the air, something like 2 months. 2 months, a propeller plane. 2 guys in a little Cessna, they figured out a way to get fuel. They would fly low, and there was a fuel truck, and they would fuel as they flew down the runway. And they just to see if anybody could, stay in the air for a couple of months. And these guys did it all the way back in the 1950s for like 2 months. Pretty wild. And that record has not been broken. It's a dangerous record to break. The hardest part is getting the fuel, getting all that gasoline and that kind of stuff. Let's see. Has anybody hired a good lawyer in their life? I've hired 1 or 2, but boy, oh boy, these guys are fraidy cats. So many of them are fraidy cats, always worried about what some corporation is going to say or think, or some letter a Democrat is going to write. I still have to figure out a way, and I need help. If you're a lawyer, hopefully a rich lawyer, because a lot of the lawyers I know, they got to work every day. And that's fine, but they can't do what they call pro bono work. And I don't know. I just want to get Rudy Giuliani his law license back. Rudy Giuliani and Professor Epstein. No, not Epstein. Eastman from California. Great lawyers. All they did was advocate vociferously for their client, the President of the United States. They didn't steal from anybody. They didn't commit a crime. And they both lost their law license. And nobody seems to give a damn. And all those jerk lawyers who are still dining out, telling stories about their glory days, going after the mob. I'm talking about you, Savarese. I'm talking about you, Chertoff, Michael Chertoff, and your bros. Oh, the tough guys going after the mob with Rudy. Oh, Rudy drinks, No, he doesn't. That's a lie. Rudy has never been better. And thank God he's still with us. All right, something else we wanted to do here. I think everyone should take a moment. We're going to listen to one Democrat. And I happen to know that she is, well, like a lot of Democrats, she's got a screw loose. She also has a smidgen of integrity. She does. And a lot of people I respect have asked me, did you watch that? No, I didn't watch that. I can't watch a 3-hour hearing. Well, that's part of the problem. Who can? This is Senator Patty Murray. She is a Democrat. She is from Washington. And she has some serious questions. And from what I'm told, she's a serious person. But if I find out she went to a drag time story hour for kids, the deal is off. Go ahead, please, with Patty Murray.
Your department received $150 billion last year in the Republicans' Big Beautiful Bill. It also received a record $839 billion for fiscal year 2026, more money than you asked for last year. Combined, that is a $1 trillion budget for the year. And as I already mentioned, your department has yet to spend half of the reconciliation funds. And despite that, you are here today asking for tens of billions of dollars more for things that you've already asked for in your FY27 request or that have nothing to do with Iran. This administration has tried to sell this as an emergency request, but it may be better understood as an attempt to skirt the normal appropriations process. Here are just a few of the things requested in this Iran supplemental. $800 million for the National Guard to patrol D.C. even longer. Over $1 billion for the Army to patrol the southern border, which is DHS's job. $900 million to support the administration's illegal boat strikes in the Caribbean. Over $18 billion for munitions, which you've already requested in your FY27 budget request. And $1.7 billion to pay for your decision to recruit more people than the services need, which was not contemplated by the FY26 funding bill Congress recently passed. Now, you've already submitted a reprogramming request on this that our subcommittee is considering now, which really underscores the point I made in my opening remarks that the problem is not a lack of money, but poor planning. So I'll be blunt. The truth is your request does not make a lot of sense. So let me ask you a simple question. Why exactly are billions of dollars more for the National Guard and this administration's illegal strikes in the Caribbean urgently needed for the Iran war?
Well, Senator,
not illegal.
Of course,
not illegal.
Agree with your characterization, but why this kind of spending is needed is because of the gross negligence and neglect of the Biden administration inside.
Good for you, Pete.
Ran it like a bureaucracy, abandoned our strength posture around the world, so we're having to reestablish deterrence. You mentioned the end strength numbers, and I will acknowledge that we are ahead of schedule on end strength in recruiting. 8,000 in the Navy, 6,000 in the Army, 4,000 in the Air Force. Because under President Trump, there's been record and historic over 30-year recruiting records inside our department since he won the election because the American people didn't want to sign up for what Joe Biden was providing our military.
Let me
and they want to sign up for what President Trump is doing in his leadership. And so those are good problems to have that we need to fund and a reflection of momentum. And this budget will allow us to continue the kind of momentum that gets us ahead.
My point is that a lot of this request does not feel like an emergency. And
Bit of a stalemate. Those things are kind of on the boring side. Hey, meanwhile, Illegal people, non-citizens registering to vote in New Jersey, and it's ho-hum. No, this is a major, major, major scandal. It's a window into stuff that's been going on all across the country. We're not going to let it go. You know what I love? These really kind of intrepid reporters on Capitol Hill. There's this kind of new thing. It helps with the Steadicam. They walk with the lawmakers as they go across the street. It's totally legal. I love that about America. You know, you see somebody on the street, you can go up and talk to them. It doesn't matter if you're a congressman or a senator. You don't get a special kind of bubble or anything like that. Questions can be posed. We can watch you squirm, and sometimes it's a very beautiful, funny thing to watch them squirm. And once in a blue moon, they'll have something of substance to say. The questions are fascinating. The answers are fascinating, sometimes in what they actually reveal or not reveal. Give me a moment. 800-848-9222. 800-848-9222.
Greg Kelly
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Can you see? I see a plane entering a building and an explosion, and that's exactly what I expect to see with a plane full of gas entering a building. An explosion. I have seen nothing abnormal, weird. It all makes sense to me. I was there, by the way, when World Trade Center 7 came down. I was about a block and a half away from World Trade Center 7. And people like to say, well, you know, that building should not have come down. There was no reason for it to come down, and it had to be detonated. It was detonated. There was an explosion, and I know that's wrong. I know it from my own ears. World Trade Center 7, when it came down, it wasn't like, boom, and then it collapsed. It was like, it was like that. It was a slow build, a roar. And that's what happens when it comes collapsing down. A detonation, you would hear an explosion. But when it collapses from the top, you would not hear boom, boom, boom. It would be a slow roar, and that is what I heard. It's interesting, the 9/11 Commission, they never interviewed me about that, but I was right there. I couldn't see World Trade Center 7 because there was so much smoke and debris that I was inhaling, by the way. I was at church in Cortland at about whenever the hell that thing came down. What was that, 5 o'clock at night, 4:30, something like that? I need to register for one of those funds. I inhaled so much stuff down there. I was there on 9/11, then I went back the next day. You know, my parents lived in Battery Park City. And just on the other side, I went to that. That was my neighborhood. I knew that neighborhood like the back of my hand. I knew that place so well. And never the same, never the same. It is hard to believe, though, that I can walk in that vicinity sometimes and not think about 9/11. I'm surprised. I can drive by there and just think that I'm on my way to pick up something or to see somebody. Or I never knew it would happen, but it has happened. Just like I never knew we'd come to the day where 9/11 would not be on the front page of the New York Times. It took about almost 10 years, but we got to the day where it was no longer on the front page of the New York Times. Now nobody even looks at the front page of the New York Times. The New York Times, I don't even look at the website anymore. What a bunch of crap. However, they got a nice new feature about how people make ends meet in New York. And it's pretty cool. Everybody from a museum security guard to a woman who owns a daycare to a university professor. How New Yorkers make ends meet in New York. Pretty well done. I'll give that to the Times. First time I read an article from top to bottom in about 20 years. Well done.
Thanks for listening to The Greg Kelly Show. You can hear The Greg Kelly Show weekdays at 12:15 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?